President Vladimir Putin of Russia has admitted security failings over the killing of a Russian general in Moscow earlier this week. Putin has been holding his annual news conference. State media say the public sent in 2 million questions. Putin said Russia was not defeated in Syria despite the overthrow of the Assad regime. Putin also said that he is ready to talk to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Putin went on to claim that Russia would be ready for a missile duel in Ukraine to test its new Oreshnik missile against Western air defense systems.
There's no chance to shoot down these missiles. Let them name some object, let's say in Kiev, and concentrate all their air defense and missile defense forces there, and we will hit it with the Oreshnik and see what happens. We are ready for such an experiment. Is the other side ready?
IDW's former Moscow bureau chief Yuri Reshetto told me more about Putin's challenge to test Russian missiles against Western defenses in Ukraine.
Well, Gerhard, this response was given to a remark that the West was claiming that Putin's latest super weapon in the war against Ukraine, the Oreshnik missile, was in fact an old missile that has just been slightly modified. So Putin argued that all new weapons are a further development of the old ones. And then he said what we heard. It sounded to me quite spontaneous, not like a specific plan, but it could be understood as a signal to the West, to NATO first of all, that Russia wouldn't stop firing at Ukraine, no matter how many Western defense systems are working there. And Putin is determined to keep fighting in Ukraine.
Now, how much of Putin's speech or answers were dedicated to Ukraine?
Oh, pretty much. Ukraine was one of the, of course, significant parts today. Putin said that the situation was fundamentally changing in favor for the Russian army in Donbass. When asked when Russia would finally recapture or regain the Russian region of Kursk that was occupied by the Ukrainian army, Putin didn't want to give a specific date. He simply promised that everything would be done properly and recaptured. For me, this is a signal that the recapture of the Kursk region is not going as planned. Asked on a peace with Ukraine, Putin was rejected the short-term ceasefire because, in his opinion, Ukraine is not ready for one, because Russia wants real peace, he said. Basically, Putin repeated the same fear that Ukraine has, namely that the other side would only gather forces, power in the ceasefire just to fight even harder.
Well, that clearly being a bit of a PR stunt there. Does he really need that? How much support does Putin still have?
Well, look, we can't reliably say how much support Putin has, but what we can say something about how Russians feel about the war in Ukraine. The independent Russian opinion research Levada Center says that 1 of 5 Russians would ask Putin when the war will end. And this question was mentioned most frequently, followed by the question about improving living standards, given that Russia is going to spend 40% of its budget on military and security next year and not on social benefits. So people are pretty concerned about their living standards. That's why Putin also spoke quite a lot about the economic situations, about butter prices, and so on and so on.
Thank you very much, Yuri Reshetto there.